Well, records were broken when we were here to talk in the mid innings about the first innings. Records have been broken again. Mohammad Shami has now the most fifers in World Cups. He has four of them, three in this World Cup. I am hoping that he's announced the man of the match as well, because if he doesn't, then I am going to go on a rant. I'm not going to let any of Anirudh or Nikhil speak if that happens. So there is that. And with 7 for 57, he's now also gone past Stuart Binney's record of the best bowling figures in an ODI for an Indian player. Phenomenal once again from Mohammad Shami. Nikhil, coming to you. Thoughts at any point of time? Did you feel that India were behind the game? There would have been some nervousness, but did you really think that India could lose this game?
As I said in the preview and also in the middle innings, that it will take something special. And for some time, you did feel Darren Mitchell had it in him. I was honestly, at one point of time, just appalled by how much luck Kane Williamson had in his innings. He had a top edge for six, then a couple of inside edges that went for a boundary, then he had an LBW that was umpire's call, and they did a run out which you saw Rahul's gloves disturbing. So
And a top catch of Shami as well.
and a drop catch of Shami. And that is, I think the drop catch was the only time I felt like surely not. But because see the thing with, and this is what something New Zealand will also feel about that game that they lost against Pakistan. In chases like big, you want the game to go deep because you can have phases where you will dominate, where you will be ahead of the game. But to chase so much, you need a lot of good performances. I think Daryl was great in his efforts, but once Kane got out, you knew India had an opening, and then from there on, Glenn Phillips threatened for a while, but you still knew that the gap then was too big to cover up. So, but it was a good game because India got tested again, and in a different manner. You saw some rattled fielding for some time. You saw an overthrow from Jadeja as well. But I mean, that's it. It's good because you want your side to get tested, and that's been the theme for India right through the World Cup. They have been tested in every single game, and they've found a way. And today, it was Shami who once again came back. It's good, for once, Daryl Mitchell had 2 tons against India. Shami had 2 fifers against New Zealand. So it's a good balance in that sense.
Anirudh, coming to you, after how the bowling began for India with Bumrah not showing that much control, but then Shami comes in, takes that wicket, and then gets Ravindra out as well. Did you feel that after the first 10 overs that the game was done, or did you feel that okay, even from there with the partnership that New Zealand can have a chance or might stretch India? What were your thoughts after those first 10 overs?
So I thought after Bumrah, let's be honest, had a rare off day with the new ball. I mean, first 3 overs he conceded like close to 25 runs and like a bit of extras and all. So 34 no loss, 5 overs was a decent effort by New Zealand. And then after the next 5 overs were like 10 for 2. It was like 40 for 2 in 10 overs, if I'm not wrong. I was like, look, they're way behind. They needed 358 of 40 overs. I thought, it was almost done and dusted unless something, miraculous happens. But then, once they started batting, normally for like 4-5 overs, you could see that this was still a very good track. Like we spoke about in the mid innings review as well. Like when Afghanistan bowled after the first 15 overs, it was a very good batting track. Australia, did not struggle at all after the first 10-15 overs. They could happily chase down the target, even if they were playing a couple of maidens, they did not bother about the required run rate because they knew that they could get the boundaries. So and I was at it was probably at 118 for 2 in around 17-18 overs when New Zealand were there. I thought if these two could stretch it to 200 for 2, then we might have a game in our hands, which they did actually. But full credit to India for kind of burying the ghosts of the past and having the mental strength to bounce back and finish the job off. Like Nikhil said, I think after the Shami drop, I thought it reminded me of that West Indies match in the 2016 World Cup. There was a no ball as well. If I'm not wrong, Jadeja bowled a no ball in this match. Jadeja bowled a no ball in that match as well. And I think it was West Indies' number 4 batter who kind of whacked India, Lendl Simmons. And today also it was New Zealand's number 4 batter who's backing India. So there were a lot of similarities. Wankhede as well. So once Shami put down Williamson, I thought this could be trouble for India, but an unbelievable effort in the last 18 or so overs to you know comprehensively win the match in the end. So kudos.
Yep, Nikhil spoke about Williamson's luck. It at one point of time it felt like maybe the reversal of the luck in 2019 is going to happen, but it wasn't to be. Uh, Personally speaking, I just felt right throughout that the runs were just too big. That even a good partnership could only take New Zealand close and not across the line. But yeah, talking about Shami, we have his figures here, and it goes without saying that he's the best performer for the game today, without a doubt. And who knows that if India, regardless of what happens in the next game, I feel he's also a contender to become the player of the tournament, but that is for later. There's also the match summary for all those who have tuned in that Mitchell scored 134, Williamson 69, and then Glenn Phillips with 41, and one wicket apiece for Kuldeep, Bumrah, and I think who else got that one wicket? I've forgotten.
Siraj got one wicket. I think
Siraj
he
got
got the wicket
because
of
Jadeja
South.
did not. Yeah. So
Yes.
Nikhil, there was something that you had mentioned in the last game, which was about how Indian pacers were trying to come around the wicket and bowl those Yorkers. Today we saw Siraj try that out. Were you happy with the execution overall of that plan?
See, it is a tricky one. I felt it was even trickier to do it with just four fielders out, because it's not a safe plan in terms of if you have just two guys out there, you're not going to be able to save the ball or the boundary if it goes too wide of them, because again it's also the ground. It's a very quick outfield, so you can't expected the fielder to get around and cut that angle. But again, I think they tried possibly everything that they had planned, and because you saw Mitchell cramping up, it was a good thing to see that they did it. Yeah, the execution can get better, but I think Siraj's first over was still better, in terms of execution. But the more they'll try this, the better they will get in terms of finding more options. And it is good that today they had to dig deep in terms of finding more options on this deck, because the one thing that I've loved about Darren Mitchell right through this World Cup has been his hitting areas are in the V. It is so much good to see a guy backing his core strength that I am great to hit in the V. That's where he goes for all his big hits, and it is something that has worked for him. All the lots you saw him hit Shami for that straight six down the ground. You saw him hit Bumrah as well. So I think they knew the margin of error was very less. So sometimes it may not work, but I think it was good that they tried it out. And because otherwise, see, Glenn still got a few boundaries away, and that is okay. I mean, sometimes you'll have that luck where the ball will run off the edge, but it is good to have that option because everybody tried it apart from Bumrah. Siraj also did it, and Shami also did it.
Yeah, Anirudh, I have a slightly difficult question for you. Goes without saying who's the best Indian bowler today, but who would you say was the second best Indian bowler today?
Oh, without a doubt, Kuldeep. I don't even think there's I would actually say Kuldeep bowled, arguably bowled as well as Shami did without the rewards. Because, look, we all can agree probably the first turning point of the match was the double wicket over of Williamson and Latham. But if you remember, when Siraj conceded 20 of the 41st over, New Zealand needed 110 of 9 overs.
Nine.
And Kuldeep was about to bowl the 42nd over, and we know how destructive Phillips can be against this spin. We also know Mitchell was already set. So if that over had gone for like 15 to 20, then you're looking at 90 of 8 overs, which probably puts the game in the balance. Kuldeep conceded 2 runs of that over,
2 runs.
and 108 of 9 overs from there, 108 of 8 overs from there was basically New Zealand had to be flawless, which they were not obviously. So and also let's not forget Kuldeep could have easily had Williamson once or twice as well. He was dribbling
clearly.
Williamson a lot, even though Williamson was trying to kind of paddle sweep him, or he tried all kinds of stuff, but Kuldeep had the better of him. So I feel it's actually a pretty straightforward answer, not even a tough question. I feel I was actually telling the people here that it would not even be a terrible thing if Kuldeep gets the man of the match because he was also
Yeah,
equally good,
as
as
good.
good as
Yeah.
Shami. So fair play.
Yeah, I can see Nikhil's in entire agreement over there. I felt, that he was very close to recreating that Joss Butler dismissal versus Kane. Uh, got Mitchell to sky one up, and the entire battle between him and Mitchell. Mitchell trying to second guess him, and then him not bowling that line which Mitchell's anticipating for to bring out those reverse sweeps and the sweeps was just brilliant to watch. I thought that was probably one of the best individual battles anyone could have seen in that game, or probably even in this World Cup. So I just felt that maybe you could have a different opinion, maybe because I felt somewhere Bumrah though lacked control in the first 2 overs, but then he got that control back, and you felt that he was bowling well, but was slightly unlucky with that catch being dropped and everything. Uh, Nikhil, just maybe it's a good thing that that one game where Bumrah has not had a lot of control has gone out of the picture, especially with India having such a huge score to defend.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird that Siraj for change started better,
Yeah,
and actually, I was very very surprised that Siraj was the guy who's they had a change at Siraj's end. Of course, it worked out well that Shami came in and took the wicket, but I felt at that point of time they could have easily done the reverse, and I wouldn't have blamed them to get Shami from Bumrah's end, but they stuck there, and I think Bumrah tried to just hit the outside edge of Conway because you felt that he was always going on with the angle, and he beats the bat. And for a change, Shami, for all of his talk about the narrative about beating the bat but not getting the catch, Shami gets the edge very first ball, and great catch by Rahul as well. So I think uh, it was a very good collective bowling performance, something that we've seen from India in the past as well. That when they they are able to resurrect those lengths very very quickly, which we saw from India today as well at Bumrah. After the first 2 overs, you felt he was then starting to get into rhythm. He was getting the ball to come in as well into Rachin after pitching, which would have something given him a lot of confidence that yes, I'll have him. And he came back and he almost struck with Kane Williamson's wicket also. But yeah, I think India will take that also. Okay, bhai, for a change, Siraj also only took one, Bumrah took one, but Shami was able to do the damage for them.
yeah. And Nikhil, before I move on to taking a few comments and you answering questions, do you have something to say on Jadeja's bowling today?
See, I think Jadeja, it's very tricky with him. I think his role is probably very, very straightforward in terms of let's keep the runs down, let's build the pressure for Kuldeep to also. I think it just as a collective, you feel the entire bowling unit is very focused on bowling tight, so that chances are created at the other end. I looked up at he did not take a wicket in the last game as well against New Zealand, and even in this game, he's gone for 6 boundaries. Three of them were from Darren Mitchell, who went very big straight down the ground. So it meant that he had little room to go elsewhere, and the other three were short balls. So one was to Kane Williamson, which was very early, then to Phillips, and one to Glenn Phillips and Darren Mitchell himself. So I think when you know that a guy can reverse also, there is very little room for a guy who's bowling very quick because he knows okay, if he misses his line or length, he can be swept or he can be reverse swept as well. So I think he just wanted to stay in the stumps and get out of the overs well, which I think he did well because he eventually, if you go for a run less than Bumrah in any game, I'll take it, even if Bumrah had a good or a bad game. So for him to finish with that digit,
60.
you felt that okay, yeah, the thing that I think raised a lot of expectations was the turn on offer. But the problem was the guys batting at the other end were not able to get into a position where you could make use of that turn because the moment you went fuller, Darrell Mitchell with his long levers was able to reach to the pitch of the ball and go big straight. And if you bowled wide, you knew you could get cut or reverse it. So I think it left very little room, and that just highlights even more how well Kuldeep bowled, especially in that 42nd over. That to be bowling to a set two set batters, he gave Mitchell literally nothing to work with. So I think uh, maybe we would have all wanted a few more wickets. He was my vice captain also, but I'll still take this performance because he eventually took three catches as well.
Yeah, I just felt that maybe because I thought he was bowling quicker than his average speed. There were a number of times where he was bowling
Okay.
98, 99. He was also bowling at 100 on a couple of
Yeah.
occasions that I checked. So I thought maybe some variation in pace would have helped. But I see
Yeah.
the point that you've made as well. Anirudh, you have something to add on this?
No, I mean, I thought actually, Mitchell again is probably one of the best players when it comes to, like Nikhil said, hitting straight, and some of a couple of shots Mitchell hit, which he just hopped down the ground, hopped down the track, suddenly, and then he hit one straight. All these things you don't they were like good balls. If you get hit
Yeah.
for six of good balls, it's not a problem. And also, four of those runs Jadeja considered were like due to some
Exactly.
stupidity. So,
Yeah.
so you can discount those runs as well. So when you're defending 400, you will take none for 60 or none for
Yeah.
61.
Exactly.
He's done his job. He's more than done his job. Maybe if New Zealand had gone on to win this match, then you might be looking back like the Champions Trophy 2017. Okay, why are we not getting wickets from the spinners in the middle overs? But since India, comfortably won in the end, it's fine, I guess. I think the outfield was very unforgiving for the fielding team
Yeah.
today. It was rapid, and
Yeah.
thankfully there was no due for India, but still it was a very hard ground to defend. And in that sense, I thought the spinners did a pretty decent job, even though they didn't take
Yeah.
wickets in middle overs.
Yeah. Jay Patel's here with an interesting comment. Amazing how narratives are built when it comes to captaincy. Nothing from commentary about Shami being placed at mid-on and then praises for the ball magically following Chettu. See, if you followed our show enough, you'll know how much we've spoken on this. I just feel that one thing that India really need to do better is not have the fast bowlers fielding in the hot spots. There was Bumrah in that game in Dharamshala. I thought in the last game there was Siraj probably in one of the hot spots, and today Shami. So maybe it's a very small thing, but yeah, maybe sometimes I also understand that it's difficult to make that changes because from the other end you're planning to get that same bowler, so you
Yeah.
don't want that bowler to also travel far. So maybe it's something, but everything said and done, that catch should have been taken. It was pretty much a straightforward catch. Now Vasant's asking. Vasant's asking a question and he really wants us to take that comment. So I'm just looking out for that comment. Just allow me a moment. There are too many comments right now. And guys, while I find out that comment, please, press the like button, subscribe to cricket.com. And yeah, please tell your friends and family who are cricket fanatics like yourself and us. Please follow our channel and follow us on all social media. So here's the comment. He says KL hands down is the successor of Dhoni. Great field placement once again. Good DRS, good guiding Kuldeep and other bowlers. Very good catching. Anirudh, is it a comparison way too far, or you feel maybe it has its merits?
I mean, you can understand why the comparison exists, because India have not had such a reliable keeper since Emerson white ball cricket, because Pant never really cracked white ball cricket to be you know considered at this level. And also he's had his fair share of injuries, where concussions, injuries, and all that stuff in and out of the side. And brilliant from KL once again. He's been just outstanding. Like, he's become, for a part time keeper to turn into such a reliable catcher. First of all, it is just remarkable. I don't remember you know too many transformations like this, where, yeah, I mean, you see part timers do a good job in a World Cup, but you don't see them kind of having an impact to an extent where they are in the conversation for the best wicketkeeper in the competition. And right now, I would say, probably, considering India are in the final already, I have to say that Rahul is probably, all things considered, the best keeper in the World Cup right now. And he's taken every important catch. Like, the comment points out, he is been very wise when it comes to advising his captain in terms of DRS. He's not been carried away by emotion, or he does not take emotional decisions. He takes decisions based on what he sees. Actually, he also, I feel, thinks like a batter sometimes, and he has that. See, now you can understand why people think that at least he could be a good captain, because he has that inherent leader in him. Maybe let's not go there, but you can see that calmness in him from behind the wickets, that level-headedness, and that has definitely helped India in this World Cup for sure.
I called for KL to be the captain before Asia Cup also, but yeah, then it was laughed at. But ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं.
Yeah, on KL Rahul, he's done a Rahul Dravid in this World Cup with 16 dismissals in this World Cup, which is tied with Rahul Dravid's best tally. And I purposely said he's done a Rahul Dravid because Ian Smith on air when KL took that catch of Latham actually called him as Rahul Dravid. So there's that. There's a comment by Akhil Nair, and I like this one. He says this one was mentally draining. Can't imagine how it was for the players now to come back in 3 days and go again in front of 100k fans. Hope this team has another fashion show for some chill time. Yeah, we hope so. And you've very rightly put out something which sometimes a lot of us miss because we are away from the action. We sometimes tend to not see the side of things from a player's POV. So pretty nice of you to bring this comment up to give us all a reality check of some sorts. Now there's this question by Kanan B. It's about if Australia make the final, bowling round the wicket to Maxwell a good ploy against him.
Let's discuss it on Saturday. First, let Australia. First, let the
too
match
nervous to
happen
answer this.
tomorrow, and then we can discuss it later.
Nikhil, you want to answer this?
See, you can try it. It's not something that you can just stay there and say that let's do this, because he's very good square of the wicket also. It's not that he doesn't like to access that area, but again, it depends on the conditions. Then what's the score that you're defending? Who are you going to go with that option for? So again, if you want to go, see, he's also someone who can time the ball over the offside. So it's not that Maxwell can't hit over the offside. So you'll have to be very, very sure of your plan and execute well. I think with Maxwell, you can expect different things. You can expect reverse sweep, normal sweep, come down, everything. So you just have to just be better again. You just have to be better in respect to him on that very given day in for those conditions. It's also bigger ground. So
Yeah.
that also comes into picture. That was the dimensions from where you're bowling.
Yeah. Also, to answer that question a bit, rationally, unlike the dodging I did a couple of minutes ago. I mean, see, the thing is, Maxwell is a very risky player as well. So, for example, the ball that Mitchell got out to today, I think Maxwell hits it for 6 at Wankhede for sure. It was in the slot. Mitchell was tired and he tried to power it over, long on. But if you saw how many strokes he hit, how many balls he hit that landed on similar length against Afghanistan, he just used his wrists and his bottom hand to just whack it over
Over the ball.
mid wicket or square leg or whatever.
Square
So
leg.
you can't afford to err outside leg stump to Maxwell. Maybe you can do it against Phillips or Mitchell, but you can't do it to Maxwell. And also the point about him not being afraid to use the reverse sweeps
Yeah.
right now against the Pacers. I think that is something he's really opened up areas of his game now, scoring areas with that particular shot, because you're thinking that, okay, I'll bowl wide outside off and then maybe we'll make him hit to cover or whatever and keep a
He'll hit
sweeper.
it.
He's sometimes hitting like left or right of the keeper as well. So you can't. But with Maxwell, you can't plan anything for him.
Yeah.
He can get out to a slot ball, first ball as well,
Yeah.
and he can hit a Yorker also for 4. So it depends on which Maxwell turns up on the day.
Thumbs up.
It's to be honest, it's futile thinking of plans for Maxwell, because Maxwell on his day he probably hits any ball, any bowler. When it's not his day, maybe even if we bowl, he'll get out. So he's that kind of a player. So yes.
Fair.
In words of Nikhil, he's a proper Jai Mata Di player. Let's put it that way.
Correct.
Now this is one question, hypothetical one, which has come in, and I really want both of you guys to take it. Neela Kandan's asking, if New Zealand batted first and scored 325, then India would have lost this game by seeing pressure of Indian players on field. What do you think, Nikhil? Do you feel that India would have lost this game, or you think it would have been a close one with both the sides in contention?
No, I don't think they would have lost. It could have gone close. It would have gone similarly to the way it went in Dharamshala, because you saw movement for some time, but it wasn't as extravagant or as much as you saw, say, in the Sri Lanka game. So both Darren Mitchell and Kane Williamson were able to take their time and survive because it did not do too much. So if that was the case, see, if you bowl well and you get wickets, that's something you can't control. But given what all happened, there was no due, but I still think there was enough for the batting team to take care of, and which is why you see New Zealand also, even with 3-4 guys, they were able to get to 327. So I don't think they would have lost it clearly. It could have gotten closer, or may have been a last or a second last over finish, but I don't think they would have lost it.
Yep. I don't really think anything of this game is left to discuss apart from the fact that tomorrow we have to come back again for the semi-finals, the second semi-final, to see who India play in Ahmedabad on this Sunday. I'm just looking for any comments if they are there, any questions that are left, because I genuinely don't think there's anything left for us to discuss. We've discussed pretty much each and every bowler. We've discussed the innings of Mitchell. We've discussed the luck that Kane Williamson had. We discussed the wide angle strategy that India had. Is there anything left for us to discuss? I don't think so. But if those people who are watching,
One,
if they have something to add, yeah.
I think there's one point that I would like to uh, ask both of you, which is going forward, do you think New Zealand should look beyond Tom Latham in ODIs or white ball cricket in general? Do you think this should be the end
Yeah,
of the road for Tom Latham in white ball cricket?
yeah, I think 100%. He's had a tough time, and again, he switched down because he was able to combat spin and do well as opposed to staying up top. But now that you have a guy like Rachin who's come through really well, and again, it is maybe by accident that he's gone on to bat up top, and it's really worked for him. So, and there are decent options that they have for those slots. So the problem with New Zealand, though, I feel it's always been about that number six, number seven, where today also they use Chapman, who's not going to bowl much. There isn't, I feel that's a number too low for a guy to be batting as a specialist batter. So I think that is something that they'll have to take a call on. They have quite a few spin bowling all-rounders as well in McConkey and others. They have interesting.
Bracewell is there as well. He's
There's Bracewell as well, exactly. So maybe Bracewell could be a straight swap in as well at that spot. But again, the problem there is they'll have to really start getting consistent returns from Phillips for them to
yeah.
be able to make that call that okay, let's go. Because then you can see they'll probably go down the route where Australia are, in terms of you have four batters, still four, and from 5, 6, 7 you have three all rounders at all times. So that could be Glenn Phillips, Bracewell, and Santner. So, and that is still a decent batting bit to have. I also feel Santner's batting returns have really dipped, suddenly. So that's also something that an area that they'll want to look out for. But yeah, Tom Latham, maybe the time may be running out in that for him.
Also, it might, what I'm going to say is, might sound harsh, but I felt that Glenn Phillips left it too late to accelerate. I felt that he should have.
Possibly.
He was 1 of 10 at one point, and I know that
Yeah.
you lost 2 wickets in 1 over, but when you're chasing 12 and over, I'm sorry, you can't be scoring at 50, 60 strike rate after 20 balls, which, I mean, he probably caught up with that 20-run Siraj over, but I felt that he should have gone at least a couple of overs earlier, and maybe that might have. You never know how the game could have panned out if Phillips had done that, but I just feel that this has been a problem with Phillips throughout this World Cup. Even in that India match in Dharamshala, he killed the momentum off after walking in after the
Yeah.
Latham's dismissal in the chase against Australia. He played a similar knock which went nowhere. So yeah, I mean, I'd also say that as well as Phillips has done with the ball in this World Cup, I I am not quite sold on him yet as an ODI batter. I feel that uh, he also has to prove himself. So
Yeah.
New Zealand have a very solid top four, but
Mm.
5, 6, 7, and the rest, I think they have to work on it. But look, nobody's going to care about ODIs for the next 2 years now. So they have enough time to work it out. So it's fine, I guess.
my my view on this is that if Kane see between these two World Cups, I think Kane Williamson has missed probably half the ODI games or probably half the matches that New Zealand have played. So Tom Latham has been the captain. Now we don't know how much is Kane also going to play moving forward. So if Kane's going to play and they feel that he can be the captain, then yeah, sure. But if Kane's also not going to be there, so then I'm really not sure how the transition would happen. I'm not defending his numbers or anything. I just feel that they really have to figure out then if Kane's not there and if Latham's also not there, then who is the captain? And you know what
True.
Nikhil mentioned about Chapman, they also need to figure out who's the best guy for that role because sometimes they've tried Nisham there, and that position. I think Chapman's batting what at number 7, right? Yeah, number 7. So they really need a guy who's more of a batter than bowler. I think when they play Nisham, they also expect him to bowl a lot, which I feel is an unfair expectation on the player itself. So yeah, they probably need to figure out uh, a couple of spots in the team, and maybe I also feel that they probably need to look beyond Saudi now in ODIs because he's been going for runs quite frequently in limited overs for sure. So that is my view on it. We will be having a detailed review on New Zealand and the other team that gets knocked out tomorrow, just before the final, just like how we did a review yesterday for all the 6 teams that did not make the semifinals, and wherein we'll have that format where we'll follow that what did not work for that team and what is next that they can look at. So please do tune into that. We'll be out with the details of that show as well shortly. And I'm a few more comments have come in, just going through them and seeing if there is something that we can answer. Just allow me a moment. uh, there's this question. I am not sure if if New Zealand could have really done much about it, even though Anirudh did speak about this in the mid-inning show where they said that where he said that maybe Jameson could have come in for one of Saudi or Lockie. Uh, yeah, so I don't think there's much left for us to discuss on that. Uh, Neela Kanda is agreeing to what KV Mishra said. So yeah, I mean, we've pretty much again, like I said, uh, discussed everything that is that was there. I think we are really struggling for talking points here because we have run out of them, which is rare because there's so much to discuss so many times. So on that note, I'd really like to thank all those of you who tuned in. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to cricket.com, download the app, and keep following our live blogs and all the other analytical pieces which our writers are doing. Anirudh himself has written a lot of good pieces. Please do read them. And yeah, please join us tomorrow for the preview as well as the review for of the second semi-final. That's it for today. Thank you. Hopefully on the 19th we all are celebrating once again. Bye.
Cheers. Chak.